Well, welcome to another session of Omega Matters. This is Bill Harris, and I am having a chat today with my friend and colleague, Dr. Aleix Sala-Vida in Barcelona, Spain. Aleix got his PhD in 2004 in biomedicine from the University of Barcelona and did 4 postdoctoral fellowships, so that certainly increased his breadth and depth of understanding and in nutrition and topics we'll be talking about today. He's really got experience from cell culture work all the way up to epidemiology, so quite a breadth of knowledge. He's particularly interested in how nutrients affect chronic disease, and today we're going to talk about specific nutrients, omega-3, and the chronic disease of dementia. Aleix has got 151 publications, 76 of which have to do with fatty acids. So he's a bona fide expert in this field. So welcome, Aleix. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. So Aleix is one of the principal research associates here with us at the Fatty Acid Research Institute, and we work on lots of papers together. But today we're going to talk primarily, we're going to start rather large and talk about the role of diet in cognition and preserving cognitive capacity. And I look back and I see your first paper on this topic. You were second author on a JAMA paper 8 years ago now. And you studied in that one the effects of the Mediterranean diet on cognition. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And then we'll talk about a paper that was just published this July on sort of the same topic.
Yeah, sure. This paper was a sub-study of the PREDIMED trial. PREDIMED trial was intended to prove that in people free of cardiovascular disease, following a diet rich in Mediterranean foods, plus supplementation with long-known foods to be beneficial, either nuts or either extra virgin olive oil, would help to prevent the incidence of cardiovascular events. So in short, this was a cardiovascular disease trial. However, this trial included different subsets, different nodes across Spain. And in Barcelona, my former boss was clever enough to think about the heart and brain axis. So he decided, yeah, it would be worthy to ask our participants in Barcelona to undergo cognitive testing at baseline and after a few years. So after the participants came every 2 years. So some of them underwent the testing after 2 years, some of them after 4 years, some of them after 6 years. In average, the median follow-up was around 4 years. The sample was not impressive because it only included participants from our node in Barcelona, and because this sub-study was part of a study not entirely focusing on dementia or cognitive health. It was a study focusing on cardiovascular disease.
Right. And when you said Mediterranean diet,
yeah,
and then you said, and you added to in one arm extra virgin olive oil.
No,
and you added nuts.
No. What we decided was to test 3 different types of diets for cardiovascular disease. So one of them was a low-fat diet. We asked the participants to cut down the calories and try to follow a low-fat diet. At that time, this was intended to be the healthiest diet for people at risk of cardiovascular disease. So right. We gave them plenty of recipes, and we asked them, and we were controlling them just to check whether they cut down the amount of calories. The other one was the opposite, was, okay, you should eat according to Mediterranean diet. We gave them recipes, we encouraged them to increase the consumption of vegetables, nuts, fatty fish, pulses, reduce the use of sodas and so on. And this was for people following Mediterranean diet, and they were supplemented with either extra virgin olive oil, that was one arm, and mixed nuts, 30 grams per day. This was a second Mediterranean arm. So in short, there were three arms: one low fat, one Mediterranean diet plus extra virgin olive oil. We gave them 1 liter per week, which is an absolute amount. So we gave them, so use as much oil as you want. And another one was Mediterranean diet plus mixed nuts, 30 grams per day.
Yeah. I guess most people would assume that you wouldn't need to add olive oil to a Mediterranean diet. I mean, that's just part of it. Is that not the case?
Yes, you are partly right. As you can see, olive oil is integral to Mediterranean diet, but you can have different types of olive oil in terms of quality. Extra virgin olive oil is considered like olive juice. This is the most, the highest degree of quality.
Okay.
Some people uses different types of olive oil, but without this richness in polyphenols and bioactives. So they just swapped the type of olive oil. So,
okay. So this was instead of the olive oil they would typically use.
in terms of fat, it was essentially the same. In terms of intake of polyphenols and other bioactives present in olive oil, they did better because the source that mostly were given was so rich in polyphenols and other bioactives.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. And then again, your outcome, some kind of mental cognitive test after 4 years on average. What happened?
We asked them to undergo a battery testing, assessing 3 different domains. One domain, which encompasses different tests that assess memory. Another domain that encompasses tests for executive function, that's attention, planning, orientation. And another one, which is a global domain, so global cognition. Okay. And what we found, it was people at control group, they decreased over time, the scoring, which is something that was normal, it was kind of expected. And we found that people following this Mediterranean diet, supplemented with either extra virgin olive oil or either mixed nuts, did not have the same rate of decrease. Actually, some of them remained stable, and some of them even increased the score.
Interesting.
The interesting thing.
How old were they at baseline?
Yeah, they were around 66 years. And one thing that makes this population unique is that they were at high risk of cardiovascular disease. They were free of cardiovascular disease at baseline, but at high risk of having cardiovascular disease.
Yeah.
They were around half of them were diabetic, or they had 3 of 5 risk factors: being a smoker, being obese, having high levels of LDL, high levels of triglycerides, lower levels of HDL. So we were not just searching, half diabetic, half with a high accumulation of risk factors, but it was, either diabetic or 3 cardiovascular risk factors.
What happened to the body weight in the groups?
There is a paper which was published a few years ago, not only in this subset, but in the whole subset, and there was no increase in body weight.
And did the people on the control low-fat diet lose weight?
Sorry?
Did the people on the low-fat control diet lose weight?
Kind of, but not much difference. Not much differences were seen between the groups in terms. Okay, following a high-fat diet, because the matter here is not the quantity, it's the quality of the fat. So following a high-fat diet can provide benefits to you without any weight gain.
Okay, great. And you found actually some benefits. So let's leapfrog to July of this year, when a study was published in the New England Journal on the mind diet and cognition. How was that different than your study, and what did they find?
Yeah, there are a few differences. Well, the first thing that I should say is that this trial is extremely well done. So my respect to people that try it to test this hypothesis. They were not so lucky because they found no benefits of the experimental diet, but well, they did a great job. Some differences, yes. First, this trial was specifically decided to test the MIND diet. MIND is Mediterranean and DASH diet, special intervention for neurodegeneration delay. So they were just targeting neurodegeneration.
Neurodegeneration. Okay.
So our people was free of cardiovascular disease at baseline, but most of them were at high cardiovascular risk. Mm-hmm. These people in the MIND trial were free of dementia at baseline, but with a high risk of dementia and other neurodegenerations, because all of them had a family history of this disease.
They had a family history of dementia in the new one. Okay, and that's very different than your study, right?
Yeah, okay. That's different. In addition, all of them were obese, and all of them were following a suboptimal diet.
Suboptimal, okay.
Yeah.
Like typical American.
Well, for so to speak. So they also asked to all participants, all of them, both arms, to cut down the amount of the calories, the daily calories. The target was to reduce by 250 calories per day. So there was no low fat versus high fat, but good quality fat. No, they decided, okay, we should eat less fat. In addition, participants were randomized to follow one diet, the control, just reduce less fat. Another one, reduce fat, but also they were given nuts, they were given berries, they were given foods intended to be good for the brain.
Did they give them omega-3 supplements?
No supplements of omega-3, no specific supplements. Okay. And the third difference, it was the length of the trial and the outcomes. In our case, we just had cognitive testing. Here, in the MIND trial, participants underwent cognitive testing, and in a small subset, also underwent magnetic resonance imaging. So the researchers were able to see some subtle changes inside the brain, maybe happening much before any changes in cognition. For instance, you know that as we get older, some changes in our brain happens. So our arteries in the brain, there is some stiffness. In addition, some areas of our brain undergo some atrophy, but this is not normal. In some cases, there is some atrophy in special areas, some accumulation of some compounds which do not happen in a random manner. Some areas, for instance, hippocampus, undergo rapid atrophy in participants or in people who develop Alzheimer a few years later. Okay. So this can be seen by neuroimaging, and these changes can be seen much before than the onset of clinical symptomatology.
So just to re-emphasize that, the hippocampus is a memory center, a small piece of your brain, right? That's really, you can see shrinkage of that area even before you see any cognitive change on the outside.
Yes. Or the total volume, the brain, or something which is called white matter hyperintensities, which is related to vessel damage in the brains.
Blood vessels.
Of little damages in the brains. Okay. These are three typical features, structural features of the brain that in some cases are considered as predictors of future cases of Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah.
So rapid shrinkage of hippocampus, loss of volume, and this accumulation of hyperintensities in the white matter. It's something that can be seen through magnetic resonance imaging protocol, which is, it's something that it's feasible to do. And this was also done in this MIND trial in a small subset.
And what they find?
Well, they found that actually both groups did well. Both groups lose some weight, but they found no significant differences in terms of cognitive performance between the groups before and after 3 years of the intervention. So this can be, at least to me, either two things. If we consider that this population was correctly selected, at least to me, they were at risk, a genetic risk because of the family history. They were not healthy, they had obesity, they don't have a very good diet, so they had room for to do better things. So the selection of the participants was, at least to me, it was great. But the lack of effect can be a couple of things. The first one, MIND is not effective at all. I don't think so. I think that MIND can be effective because it has some elements from a Mediterranean diet, which has been proven to be beneficial, and it has also elements of the DASH diet, also proven to be beneficial. I think that MIND diet is effective. The other one is maybe that the intervention was too small to see these changes. Maybe the changes were too subtle to be seen in this short period of intervention, in these 3 years of intervention.
Did they actually, both groups got better, or they just declined at a slower rate than expected? I mean, they didn't have a group that they didn't intervene on at all. So a third group, kind of control group. And so they had a low calorie weight loss group versus a weight loss Mediterranean group. So with the effect of weight loss, can we say anything about weight loss and the effects on cognition?
No, because both of the groups, so weight loss was pretty similar in both groups.
Yeah, okay. So there are reasons to think we can come up with reasons why it might not have worked, but in point of fact, and these were, again, people in their 60s also?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah. So at least these short-term interventions late in life are, and just to talk about how difficult it is to actually study nutrition and the brain.
It's something, I think it's something really difficult. If you go to a congress on dementia and Alzheimer, so diet, at least not at this point, has a prominent role. I like to figure that as something similar to cardiovascular disease, maybe 40 or 50 years ago. Nowadays, if you go to a doctor, the first thing is just quit smoking. The next one is improve your diet, do some sport, and so on. So there is no doubt between the connection between diet and heart disease, heart failure, stroke, whatever. So cardiovascular disease. There is no doubt that is connected. I think that in 40 years, all people will be completely aware of the connection between diet and brain health. But we are still not at this point.
Right.
So there are not much trials. At this point, research on dementia mostly goes, let's go for biomarkers. Let's go to understand what is actually going on. Let's understand the disease. So then you will have some space to go to prevent, but we should understand why some people have Alzheimer, why some people don't. The importance of the genetics. Why some people with a really bad genetic burden has, surprisingly, is is so resilient to developing the brain.
Yeah.
And the opposite, why some people develop this dementia before the 60s, why some people reach at 90s, completely fine. So at this point, most of the work is focusing on biomarkers, new techniques, new tests to better capture the evolution of the disease. But I'm hoping that maybe in 10, 20 years, we'll be completely aware of how this is happening. And then we will be able to say, hi, diet is so important, smoking is so important, sleeping is so important, exercise is so important.
Yeah.
I think that most people are thinking, yeah, okay, lifestyle is so important. But I think that not everyone is so aware on how powerful are our choices in midlife to determine what is going to happen 30 years later. I think that the better you start, the sooner the better. So
Right. And we'll get to that at the end of our little talk about it. We'd like to kind of get your advice to people across the whole wide, but let's focus in on what we love here at Omega Matters, which is omega-3. And you've got at least a couple of papers on that, and one just published last month in November of 2023. The first paper we went over in episode number 16 of Omega Matters, where we interview you on that one. So you can briefly summarize that one, and then talk about your new paper and how they compare.
So that paper was published a year and a half ago or so. We used data from the Framingham health study, and we determined we had data on red blood cell fatty acids and different types of omega-3. And at that paper, we focused on DHA. We decided to study DHA because it's a fatty acid which is supplied by fatty fish, and second, because it's the main fatty acid that we can find in our brain. This fatty acid is rapidly accumulated in our brain even before birth. So if we accumulate this fatty acid, if this fatty acid is present in breast milk, it means that it might have something important, might have an important role in our brain. So we decided to focus in this specific fatty acid. And well, we had very nice data in the Framingham. It was, I think it was 2,000, nearly 3,000 participants, free and dementia, at the time that they were, they gave blood samples to determine the fatty acids. Right. And these participants were followed for a long, long time. And during this time, this follow-up, some of them developed Alzheimer's disease, some of them developed other dementias. Mm-hmm. For so to speak, dementia, well, Alzheimer's disease, it's around 70% of dementias. So Alzheimer's disease is one type of dementia, which is the most abundant. So we decided to examine the associations between red blood cell DHA and the risk of having incident Alzheimer's disease and the risk of having incident dementia over time.
Yeah, how old were they at baseline, and how long did you follow them?
I'm speaking, they were over 65 at baseline.
Oh, I think, yeah, right.
And the follow-up, I think, I need to check that, but I think it was around 5 years, mean follow-up.
Okay, yeah.
Roughly 5 years.
I think, for sure, I recall, the average age was around mid-70s.
Yeah.
And we only looked at people over age 65, right?
We decided to only use data from participants 65 or over, because most of the studies, the similar observational studies, done until that moment were, examining the same population. So people which are people considered old, 65 or over.
Yeah.
So we found that after controlling for different factors that can also influence the risk of having dementia, having Alzheimer's, in short, age, gender, years of scolarity, presence of ApoE4 carriership. This is a genetic risk factor. So we found that compared to the first quartile, so being at the bottom 20%, being at the top nearly halved the risk of having Alzheimer's disease and the risk of having dementia.
So, right.
And importantly, the associations were much stronger in people at higher genetic risk. In other words, in ApoE4 carriers. This is something that you cannot change.
Yeah.
So people having this special genetic characteristic have a higher risk to develop Alzheimer's disease and to develop much sooner than other people.
And so you think, does omega-3, should people with ApoE4 carriers who have that genetic marker, should they be more attentive to omega-3 intake earlier in life?
Yeah, I think so. Because this is something that is related to lipid metabolism. And well, I think that it has been described, and I refer to the excellent work from Dr. Yassin from the University of Southern California. He has been doing great things in this specific topic. So people with ApoE4 carriership have derangements in lipid metabolism, including some disturbances in the metabolism of DHA, meaning that they have lower status and they might have higher requirements.
Yeah. That's interesting.
In other words, they might have, the highest benefits of interventions based on this type of nutrients.
Sure.
Especially DHA.
Let's jump to your new paper then, the one you published last month. How is that different from the Framingham paper?
It's different in not on the idea, because it's once again an observational study, but it's different in terms of methods. The first one is the population. First one, in the first nutrients papers, they were from the Framingham Health Study, American people. This is from the UK Biobank. It's English people, well, English, Wales, Scotland. So people from Great Britain and United Kingdom. So that's the first difference. The second one is that here we focused on DHA, but we also focused on other types of fatty acids, or other types of omega-3 fatty acids. In this particular study, we used metabolomics that had not been generated through gas chromatography, which is the gold standard to assess the fatty acid profile in your blood or in different tissues. They used something which is based to nuclear magnetic resonance. This is good because you can get a very wide profile of different metabolites, not only focusing on omega-3 fatty acids, other lipids, other analytes as well. But the granularity of these fatty acids is not so good, because for DHA, it's fine, but it's DHA and total omega-3 fatty acids. So that's the only data regarding omega-3 that we had access to. So we decided, okay, we have total omega-3, we had DHA, but instead of analyzing different species of omega-3 fatty acids different than DHA as an isolated metabolites, we couldn't do that. So we had just to create a new one, which is non-DHA omega-3 fatty acids. This means that we were not able to study other important species like EPA or ALA, which is the vegetable omega-3 fatty acid. So we weren't able to do so. So we had total, we had DHA, and we created the third category, which is non-DHA omega-3 fatty acids. And another novelty is that, well, this was using data of more than 250,000 participants. This is a huge amount. I
How
think
many?
it's a lot. Sorry?
How many again?
More than 250,000 participants.
Okay, 250,000 people. That's
Yeah.
much bigger than,
This is the largest observational trial ever done on the topic. This is nice because it allowed us to go for subgroups that are usually not explored, not because there is no interest, but because there is no statistical power to get reliable associations. So most of the trials, or most of the studies in this case, usually work with people age 50, 60, 65 or over or so. But here we had data on people who were at their 40s at baseline. So we decided, okay, let's go with 3 different groups. Besides exploring the associations between DHA, non-DHA omega-3, and total omega-3 with Alzheimer's and with total dementia, we also decided, okay, let's separate between, let's stratify men and women, and also, okay, let's stratify in different decades at baseline, from 40 to 50, one group, from 50 to 60, another group, and 60 or over, the third group. This is the later one is what has been usually done in other traditional similar studies.
yeah.
And what we found, in general terms, we found nice associations regardless of the group, regardless of the species, regardless of the disease. In general terms, the first idea that we should get is the higher omega-3 in your blood, the lower risk. However, when searching for, those cases with the strongest associations, we found that men over 60 for non-DHA species and for dementias that were not Alzheimer's. These were the strongest associations.
Interesting.
This has an importance. We think that this might be important because when you are planning to these types of interventional trials, you will know that we might have different responses in different groups. Men don't respond similar to women. Younger people don't respond similar to older people. So just trying to design a new trial, it's something daunting because you are going to invest millions of dollars and you need to do some important choices. You are trying to prevent Alzheimer's, fine. Prevent means you need to try to treat this population much before the Alzheimer's is present, fine. What does this before means? 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Each year of intervention, consider the amount of the money that it's cost for each year of intervention. Second, is the same using DHA, EPA plus DHA? What about the omega-3 from vegetal origin? Third, fish oil. Well, in our regular diet, these nutrients never come alone. Okay, fine. Should just be EPA plus DHA, should be EPA plus DHA in addition to other lifestyle changes, which is called multimodal interventions. 5, if I'm already consuming a couple of servings of fatty fish per week, is there any point to participate in this trial based on supplementation with EPA plus DHA? More questions. So you have plenty of questions. How to reach the perfect population at the perfect time, with the perfect dose, with the perfect nutrient. And all these decisions will have a huge impact in the final outcome. More considering that well, you will probably have money for do 2, 3, 4 years of follow-up. Maybe you are not going to have money for 15 years of follow-up. And you are at risk to see similar results for the MIND trial we were discussing. Very, very well thought, very well executed, but maybe it was too short. Maybe the population should have been, with a higher genetic risk burden. I don't know, maybe. Or maybe with less scolarity, maybe. Or maybe with, besides obesity, also smokers, also at higher risk of cardiovascular disease. Maybe, we don't know. When we did the first trial with the PREMET, so we were lucky. But we weren't aware that we were going to have such successful results.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that these observational trials can be helpful to better define the populations who can obtain the highest benefits based on these omega-3 based interventions.
Yeah, that's great. And it's nice that they're in two different groups of people separated by an ocean, that we really get basically the same story, that higher omega-3 is associated with lower risk for developing.
Yeah, I think that this is the main idea. Higher omega-3, lower risk. This was in different populations, different ages, different backgrounds, different genetic backgrounds, racial backgrounds, dietary backgrounds, lifestyle. So I think that this the take-home message is higher omega-3, lower risk of dementia. This is good.
Yeah.
In one case, we saw that being at the top compared to being at the bottom, nearly half the risk. Not in that case. So in the UK Biobank, the reduction, was statistically significant, but it was around 30% risk reduction, not so big. But well, this can be because the populations were so different. So I think it's important trying to use data around the world, different genetics, different backgrounds, to test how important is having high omega-3. And if we can see that high omega-3, lower risk, regardless of the place of the world you are working, I think that this is a really strong message.
Yeah. And I understand you're trying to get NIH grant funding to do just that kind of study.
Yeah, starting on that. There are plenty of excellent cohorts worldwide, lots of thousands of dollars or millions already invested, with data on omega-3 in blood, with data on incident dementia. So we are trying to persuade big guys to get money just to pull data of as many cohorts as possible, just trying to investigate, just trying to confirm that higher omega-3, lower risk of dementia, lower risk of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Being completely aware that this is not an intervention trial. There are no intervention trials at the moment on omega-3 and incident Alzheimer's, because you would need a lot of time, and this means a lot of money. So at this point, we're just trying to helping for future trials, trying to better define the best populations, the best doses, and how non-modifiable risk factors, how these factors can affect the response to the omega-3.
Right. So let's begin to wrap up and kind of give us, if you're a friend asks you at a party, I know you study diet and cognition and dementia. What's your advice? What are your top 5 things that you can do in your life to reduce your risk?
Yeah. First, improve your diet. So you eat at least 3 times a day. So you have a lot of power in your hands. So improve your diet. If you had the best car in the world, you would put the best gas in the world. And if If you lose your car, okay, it's bad luck, but you can buy another one. You cannot buy another body. So you have the best car in the world. So
and what do you
put
mean by the
gas.
best diet?
Best diet. There is something which it's good. It's just seven words. Eat food, not much, and mostly plants. So try
Not
to
much and mostly plants.
yeah. So try to avoid this ultra processed food. Eat nuts, eat fish, eat grains, vegetables. Try to cut down your sodas. If you like wine, drink wine, but not much. With it's important. Try to get pleasure in what you eat. Try to find pleasure in cooking. It's difficult because at this time it's difficult. Try to find pleasure in food. It's not just a source of energy and that's it. Try to eat with someone. Try to talk well.
Yeah.
But well, I think that this is, it's top level. My advice would be eat better.
Yeah.
Second one, try to incorporate omega-3 in your diet. Maybe it won't help to delay your dementia. Maybe. But for sure, you will have plenty of other benefits. Your cardiovascular health will improve, for sure. But maybe it will help. It will cut down the risk of having dementia. Or maybe if you are going to have dementia, maybe they will give, this omega-3 will give some, I don't know, 2 years of extra life without dementia, which is important as well.
Yeah. And the risk to doing that is zero.
It's zero. No increased risk. You are not going to be obese. You are not going to gain weight. You are not going to have higher risk of bleeding. So try to include your omega-3 in your diet. So, and the third one is that from the PREMED trial, we learned that it's never too late to start taking care of yourself. Something good can happen even before you start. Even if you start after the 60s, after the 70s. Someone can say, oh, it's too late. No. It's never too late. It's never too soon.
Yeah.
If you can start taking care of you, I don't know, like your 20s, good for you.
Yeah.
How you be in your 20s, it will determine your 40s. And in your 40s, it will determine your 60s.
Right.
So it's never too early or too late to start taking care of yourself.
So beside diet, what do you got?
Besides diet, well, I think it's important. Try to improve every day in terms of your lifestyle. Try to sleep better. Obviously, quit smoking. Try to manage your emotions. I think it's something that we should pay a lot of attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
Do some exercise, socialize, have engagements in terms of don't be an isolated person. Mm-hmm. Try to have relationships with your neighbors, talk, try to stimulate yourself, try to read, try to learn a new language, play an instrument or so. Try to do what's in your hands just to avoid or at least delay the onset of dementia.
Yeah. Great advice. A lot of things we can do that are in our control, maybe tough, but
yeah, there are some things that we cannot control. We become older and older and older. Okay, it's a matter of fact. We cannot control that.
Yeah.
Genetics, we cannot control that. So if you have an APOE4 genotype, okay, that's bad luck. But well, you still have plenty of tools in your hand just to avoid or at least to delay the incident of dementia or cognitive decline.
Well, let's wrap up. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the insights you shared about omega-3 and diet and dementia. And we look forward to this project you mentioned, trying to get more of a worldwide look at the relationship between omega-3 levels and cognition. But at the end of the day, what people can do is they can increase their omega-3 levels by eating oily fish, taking fish oil supplements, omega-3 supplements, and that's at least one thing you can do. And Aleix, thank you for your time, and best of luck.
Thanks to you. It was a pleasure. Thanks, Bill.
Bye-bye.
Bye.